Hi everyone. In this video, I'm going to highlight my learning on Model Context Protocol. Let's start here with the basics. So, in MCP, we say that models are only as good as the context provided to them. This means that a basic model can outperform a very good model if we have provided enough context to the basic model that it has more access to the outer world in comparison to advanced model. So it can also outperform that advanced model if we have provided that much good context to it. So let's start with what is basically a model context protocol. So let's first go with the definition. So MCP is an open protocol that standardizes how your LLM application connect to and work with tools and data sources. So, in layman terms, what a MCP is. So, we can consider MCP as an extension to which we can connect multiple services to our system. So, MCP is a standard way of how AI application interact with external systems. So, let's start. What are the benefits of using MCP? So here we are getting a view of application where we are not using MCP. So here you can see that we have three application, then we have custom implementation for each application, then custom prompt logic. So we have everything written everything for all three application differently. So even if the implementation is same, so we need to write this code again and again. And this is where the difference came while we using MCP. So while using MCP, we can consider it like this. So we have three applications here which are compatible with the MCP. So here we have a AI assistant, then we have a AI agent, then we have any application which is desktop app which is compatible with MCP. And here both all of three applications are intended to use Google Drive. So they are connecting with a common MCP server for Google Drive to perform some actions of Google Drive. So that's how MCP helps uh, to organize and make our development faster and convenient. So here you can see if our single application which is compatible to MCP want to use different services, so it can do everything and connect with those services using MCP. Like here we have version controlling MCP server, which will help us to connect with GitHub. And then we have CRM MCP server, which will help us to create and update uh, all the things which we want to do with this server and the server have access to. Then we have data storage. So this MCP server will let us connect with the databases, and the main uh, core root of MCP is that we can perform all these actions using our English language, like very natural language which is used by us. So why we should learn MCP? Because MCP is ecosystem is growing very fast, and even big tech giants and startups are using MCP. So that's why we should learn this. Now let's move to the architecture of Model Context Protocol. So Model Context Protocol is based on a client server architecture. So here we need to learn what are the features that MCP can provide us and how to communicate the client and server. Communication between client and server takes place. So that's how client and server communicate with each other. So this is host. So host is basically our machine where we have any uh, LLM application. which can communicate with MCP servers, so which usually called as MCP client as well. So MCP client is an application that can maintain one-on-one connection to multiple MCP servers at the same time. Then MCP protocol is the way with which MCP client and server communicate with each other. So, while we are developing an MCP client, or it can be MCP server, so we need to take care of these three things, which will be resource, tools, and prompts. So, how does it works? So, MCP client also have these three things, which is tools, resources, and prompts, and similar in the with the MCP server. So, what are tools? So basically, tools are the function which we can perform using our MCP server or client, like getting alerts for weather, uh, or searching something on web. And resources are like read-only data. It can be files or database, API responses, anything. And then we have prompt templates. So prompt is basic. What we understand by prompts, that it's an way to communicate with our MCP servers in form of natural language. So yeah, that's all. Now let's see how we can define a tool. Uh, Here we are using three things: resources, tools, and prompt. Let's see how to define a tool. So we can have any function which is performing a specific task. Then we can decorate that function using mcp.tool, and it becomes the tool for our MCP server or client. Then in the similar way, we can decorate any function with MCP resource, and it becomes uh, an MCP resource. So it needs to like resource allows the MCP server to expose data to client and can return a data of type string, JSON, and binary, etc. And basically, we have two types of resources. One is direct, and second one is templated resource. So, what is the major difference? So, in case of direct resources, we return a list of documents, and in templated resource, we give the contents of a single document which we want, like detailed uh, description of a single document, and in another case we are getting the list of the documents. Then we have prompts. So it's a set of these prompt the prompt which we give to LLM to accomplish a certain task. This prompt should be of high quality, and how like we can assist a user to understand him what will be a better prompt. So we can give it in a two ways. So firstly, what we can do, we can simply write it like this, and then we can have a very good evaluated prompt which look like something which will help user to understand, like if he want to do a specific task, how he can or she can write a perfect prompt for the things which he or she want to accomplish here. So this will be a better approach if we are focusing user interaction in our application. Then we have life cycle in our communication life cycle in our MCP client and server. So first of all, the first step is initialization. So in initialization, what happens? MCP client sends a initialization request to MCP server, then server return a response, and then MCP client returns a notification for connection success or connection failure. So let's consider connection is success, then we will get a notification that connection is established. Then message exchange, MCP client send a request to MCP server, then server returns a response, and Also, MCP client and a server like send notification to each other while communication happens, and at the end, when the communication is done, then this process terminates, and that's how all this works. So basically, what are MCP transports? So MCP transport, we can consider it as a mechanism by which MCP client and server send and receive messages. So it can be of two type. It can run locally, which will be standard input output, and we can also do it using a remote service, which can be server sent events and streamable HTTP request. So let us quickly jump on to building our first chatbot, and let's go through the steps once how we can build a chatbot. So for building a chatbot, we need to firstly import all the required modules which we're going to use here. So these is the list of the modules which I'm going to use for building a chatbot. Then we declared a variable with name of papers. So then we declared our first function which will search news in papers for us and return us the result. Then we declared a second function which will extract the information of specific paper across all the topic directories with specific paper ID, which is returned to us by our first function. So basically, it returns a list of IDs for to search for us. Then going forward, we define some tools. Then we do tool mapping here, and similarly query processing everything, and then chat loop. So in this chat loop, what we are doing, we are running an infinite loop here till the point we do not get input quit. So that's how chatbot is running. So let's talk a little bit about MCP servers. So to build an MCP server, we first need to uh, initialize some modules, and it will be very similar to building a chatbot, but with some differences. Like while building an MCP server, we will initialize the fast MCP server here. Uh, then the two functions which we created for chatbot, we will decorate them with uh, MCP tool. So these two functions which we have in chatbot becomes tools now in our MCP server. And you can see we are doing the same thing. Then we have initialized our main function with if dunder name dunder is equal to dunder main, and then here we are running our MCP server with standard input output. So you can see we are running it locally, and then we can run this command to open our terminal in Jupyter Notebook itself if you don't want to go to terminal to run these commands. So and then we can like declare a virtual environment using Python and then install UV in it, and then using UV we can create a virtual environment and install all the dependency which we need to run this server. So it will be MCP and other dependencies which we used here, and then after all that we can run our server using npx into model context protocol to use it with inspector, and that's all I am able to complete today and get a deep understanding, and also able to run some of it here, and also try to use it with MCP inspector. So I am planning to share a video today of working of MCP server and my own built MCP server, and I am going to use it with my own built MCP client. So thank you so much. That's all I'm able to learn today.